영국은 전통적인 해운 강국이자 오늘날에도 글로벌 해운의 지휘 컨트롤 타워 역할을 하는 나라입니다. 해운 산업에서 가장 중요한 기구인 국제 해사기구 IMO도 영국에 위치하고 있습니다.
So the International Maritime Organization, or IMO, is a United Nations specialized agency, and we bring together 176 member states to develop the regulatory regime for international shipping. So shipping is an international global industry, so we need international global standards that are universally applied across the globe for all ships wherever they are trading. Every country that's a maritime nation, whether it's as a flag state that you are flagging and registering ships, or you're building ships, or you're supplying the seafarers that are working on ships, every nation is involved in the maritime trade, and every nation needs to follow the IMO rules to ensure that their ships comply with all the relevant standards. So IMO is the forum bringing together all the member states here where we can discuss the regulations. So we require input from any and every member state, as well as from non-governmental organizations which have consultative status.
영국 항해의 역사는 로마 시대까지 거슬러 올라갑니다. 런던이 로마 제국의 주요 수출항 역할을 했습니다. 하지만 전성기를 열고 잉글랜드를 유럽 열강의 지위로 끌어올린 사람은 엘리자베스 여왕입니다. 이후 영국의 해상 활동은 활발해졌지만 문제는 거리와 운송 비용이었습니다.
I've collected freight rates back to 1741, which is 300 years now almost, and it tells the story in very simple terms. Until from 1741 to about 1815, the cost of freight went up because the biggest ship you could build with wood for trading was 200 tons, and they were very inefficient. You were lucky to do 2 voyages a year with one of these little ships.
이런 이유로 화물 운송 비용은 계속 상승할 수밖에 없었습니다. 비효율적인 흐름을 바꾼 것은 새로운 첨단 선박, 증기선이었습니다.
The first steamship that was able to trade to Asia was built by a ship owner called Alfred Holt in 1865. And the reason they could have got a ship there before, but it would have needed to fill its whole cargo capacity with coal. And what Alfred Holt did was make the steam engine much, much more efficient. He knew how to do that because he'd worked on the railways and knew how to use high pressure boilers. And so that was the next stage. Steam engines got more efficient, then diesel engines, and with the fossil fuel propulsion, the ships got bigger. And so that whole process went on until the Second World War, when the shipbuilding industry developed new construction techniques called hull block construction, where instead of building a ship on a slipway, you built it in big blocks. And that made it possible to build very big, very cheap ships. And those, again, continued to reduce the amount of energy required to transport and reduce the cost.
이렇게 영국은 해운 강국으로 성장할 수 있었습니다. 그런데 이런 성장의 배경에는 특별한 이유가 있었습니다. 바로 많은 수입품이 다름 아닌 식량이었기 때문입니다. 해상 교역이 국민의 밥상과 직결되어 있었던 겁니다. 이 무렵 대양을 항해하는 전 세계 선박 8,400여 척 중 절반이 영국 소유였습니다. 이 수치는 영국의 해상 지배력을 상징하는 것입니다. 그래서 로이드 조지는 1916년 12월 총리가 된 직후 첫 연설에서 해운은 심하게 손상되면 국가의 목숨이 끊어지는 경동맥이라고까지 표현했습니다.
The British traders were competing with Dutch and Portuguese traders who were starting to travel around the world and find expensive or valuable goods that they could trade. And the East India Company was something that started the British Empire, where we started to use our navy, our military strength, to gain control of different parts of the world. And that gave us the need to have a strong maritime presence in order to have an influence in lots of different parts of the world. And what we did was we used our control of other countries to locate stores of that fuel that other ships, including our own, refueled in. So countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, Aden in Suez, Malta, Gibraltar in the Mediterranean. These were ports that the UK controlled, but we used them to store coal because the voyages that you could complete required you to have a very large amount of coal on board, which you were frequently replenishing. Unlike today, where a ship can travel on fuel for 3 months without having to buy more fuel, in those days, to get around the world, you needed to stop several times. And so we had control of the technology, control of the ports, and control of the energy source that our fleet was using to get around the world. And those things all contributed to making it quite easy for the UK to operate globally and therefore become a dominant maritime country. That is no longer feasible. We no longer have the production of those things, but the history was something that enabled us to get to where we were at the beginning of the 20th century.
선박에 주민등록처럼 국적을 부여하고 해당 국가의 법과 규제에 따라 운항하도록 정부가 선박을 공식적으로 등록하는 선박 등록 제도. 이 제도도 19세기 초 영국에서 시작됐습니다. 해상보험의 출발지 역시 영국입니다.
The only other thing to just bring up is probably that we also innovated some of the services that have become crucial to shipping. In the early part of the 19th century, we started to trade information about the vessels calling at UK ports, their cargoes and their owners. And there was a famous coffee shop in London, not far from here, where someone put all that information on the side. It was a person called Edward Lloyd, and he started the process of what became Lloyd's Register, which is the first registry of shipping, and recording all these details, but also assessing whether or not they were good quality or bad quality ships. And that became the first part of the insurance trade. And once people managed to insure cargoes, then they could be confident that they would put a vessel to sea with their cargo and it would be either arriving and they would get paid, or it wouldn't arrive and the insurance would pay them. And that was a very crucial enabler of a lot of maritime effects that the UK had.
산업혁명과 함께 대양을 호령하던 영국. 영국은 2차 세계대전 이후 신흥공업국이 탄생하고 무역질서가 바뀌는 1970년대 접어들면서 그리스의 1위 자리를 내주게 됩니다. 그러나 비록 상선 보유량 자체는 아시아 국가들에 비해 줄었지만 회사 서비스, 금융, 보험, 법률, 표준 재정 영역에서는 지금까지 여전히 영국이 세계 최고의 지위를 차지하고 있습니다. 그렇다면